Hello, everyone. Welcome to Probable Magic. This is episode number 49. And I wanted to kick off by talking about the cancellation of daily events and higher level tournaments, which I guess happened a couple days ago, but I just heard about today through listening to last week's Limited Resources podcast. Limited Resources being one of my go-to sources for Magic drafting insight. I highly recommend it. But in this particular podcast, they were talking about this recent announcement and some, I guess, a lot of Twitter buzz, and I don't follow Twitter at all, regarding Brian Kibler, a name that on any given day there's probably a 50-50 chance I could hear that name and associate it with Magic or not, and that's about the extent of what I know of him. But he's a pro player, and I guess a server crash resulted in him losing out on the top 8 of I think the Master Magic Online Championship series, which is a pretty raw deal for him, and I hope that Wizards will do something to attempt to make that up to him in some way. But following that, which I guess there's been debate on whether or not it's related, was the cancellation of a lot of constructed events. And as I don't play constructed at all, my initial reaction to that was meh. But when I thought about that a little more, I realized that even as a drafter, a strictly limited drafter, this does affect me. I guess in one obvious way, they've added some additional events, which I think are all sealed, which I'm not playing right now, but may in the future. But another way in which it affects me and any other drafters interested in Magic economics, or modonomics as I like to call it for online, is in card values. Now, this I have not updated since yesterday's video. When we last looked at this, we see a drop in expected card values across the board. And at the time, I did not know what would be causing this. But can imagine that if Wizards canceled a bunch of constructed events and constructed daily events, well, that's going to affect the demand for constructed cards. And the demand for constructed cards is what I believe will primarily dictate, or at least have a very large impact on the card values. Drafters are kind of the supply side, and constructed players, presumably mostly competitive constructed, but I guess casual as well, are the demand. So drafters supplying supply, constructed supplying demand. Assuming, ignoring the fact that some people will be on both and are basically their own supply and demand. But if you're in a position like myself, where you're drafting and taking the cards and primarily selling them off to try to keep drafting, that's strictly supply, and can imagine someone in the opposite spectrum of myself who has no interest in draft. They just want to play constructed Magic, would be strictly the demand. So with the cancellation of a lot of events, that is going to reduce the demand, which means prices would be expected to drop, which certainly seems to be what we're seeing here. That is what I believe is happening. That said, I still don't have a lot of strong feelings about this. It hurts me a little to see the prices drop. It means the value equation shifts a little bit. It's weighted more towards needing to get some price value and not being able to lean on card value of what we pull quite as much. I've never taken a hard look at those percentages. That's probably something worth investigating in the future. But that said, I don't have any heartburn over this one. Those of you that do, by all means, go out, tell Wizards your feelings, write Wizards a letter, or take to whatever message boards or comment boards you want to share your thoughts on. But while you're doing that, I'm going to be playing some Magic, and I think tonight we're going to return to Theros for Theros draft number 17. My last Theros effort was absolutely abysmal. Hopefully we're going to do better tonight, and it is certainly going to be a Swiss draft. And I will see you there in a few minutes.